And that's where we also talk about Jaime Jaquez becoming extension eligible. The poison pill for Nikola Jovic expires when the offseason starts, so he doesn't have a trade kicker when he gets traded. And you've mentioned Norman Powell, Tyler Herro. Do you think there's a world where they do look for other guys that, maybe aren't being mentioned now, but could be available? Like Zion Williamson, if he's ever traded, this is going to be the best time for them to sell high on him because he just played the healthiest season of his career. There's Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson in Portland that could be on the move. There's plenty of other guys around the league that we could just list that maybe you do the second draft thing where they're on going into the fourth season and you take a swing on them, or they're on the last or second to last year of a deal about to be extension eligible, similar to Norman, that they could end up getting a good player on a discounted rate. What's your thoughts on that? And do you see them having to make a move regardless if it's not for a Giannis, Donovan, or a Anthony Edwards, which that's not going to happen?
Yeah, again,
Like,
mentioning Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards, that won't happen. It's just that's the three players that Pat Riley would go all in for. Um, they're gonna make a move regardless, I think. And you mentioned a big name there, Zion. That's one of the names that I'm thinking of as well. I think they would go after that. I just think personally that they have to be realistic because if Zion is a good player when healthy, they always deal with players that are very injury prone. Again, Giannis is to me is a different thing. He's been injury prone in the past, but he's obviously a different animal. They've dealt with Jimmy. They didn't give him the extension at that point because of the injuries concerns, and he was getting older. They're dealing now with Tyler. So the only way that they would go for Zion if it's for cheap. Now we'll see if that comes through. Like you mentioned at the end there, I think they're going to go for a move regardless. If they strike out on Giannis, they're going to have to make these moves, especially for those players that you mentioned. I think the discarded goods thing, again, they've been doing good at taking teams sort of discarded goods, like you said, and making it into like diamonds in the rough. They've done that in the past. Now, is that going to equate to competing, getting out of the first round of the playoffs? That's another conversation, but they're going to be making these moves. I think it's going to be a pretty active offseason for them, regardless of whatever happens. So I think that kind of route is likely for this team. And again, like you have to do something. How can you can't sell this team next year and say, well, it was injuries holding us back. There's no way that you can really stop that from happening. That's just how the game goes. You get injured. It's been a little rougher for the Heat, but still, like, you got to do something. I mean, Pat Riley said it, in his last end of season press conference. He's like, we're not going to rib it, meaning they're not going to run it back. I would imagine he's not going to do the same thing as well. I mean, again, you brought in Powell. That was kind of it. I mean, Fontecchio and other players, but you got to take some big swings here, I think. And obviously, we'll see what happens.
yeah, and I think you said it best. They're not going to run it back. What is the expectations for you at this point? They're stuck in the play-in, and there was a point it seemed like either them, the Hawks, the Hornets, one of them was going to be able to sneak out of it. They, as you said earlier, the Heat were the ones who faltered and weren't able to get out of the play-in and rather put themselves in a similar situation to the Golden State Warriors were in and just locking themselves into that, second or the 2-game series, it seems like. So what is the goal? Is it like strong finish? Like get it into the playoffs, play 2 games to get on there, be the 8th seed and maybe give someone a run for their money. What are your thoughts there? Like what is a good finish to this year?
It's basically what you said. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think I wrote, might have been a week or two ago, just kind of like the Heat dream scenarios for the postseason. And I said, like, getting the 8th seed to me, like, out of all the matchups in the playoffs, I don't want the Celtics. I don't want the Cavs. Um, but I'd rather have the Pistons than the Celtics. If there's one team that the Heat have played well against at the top team, it's the Detroit Pistons. They beat them a couple times this year, and they've played very well against them. So like that's the matchup that I want to see. I don't think they're going to win the series, but I think they could take a game or two, maybe two. I think that's how you do it because you look at last season and there was some momentum when they were, the 10th seed. They were the first 10th seed to get out of the play-in. But you have the Cavaliers, and they got demolished. It wasn't just a regular sweep. They got absolutely dominated. Those last two games in Miami, they lost by like 30, 40, 50, closing in on 50, I think, or maybe just 50. And that was demoralizing. So what's a good way for this team realistically to finish? It's getting out of the play-in, and it's giving the Pistons a run for their money if they fall in that 8th seed. Again, like I think the NBA released something, the probabilities where like they could still get the 8th for the play-in. The 7th is out of the picture, but they can get the 8th. Still, we'll see what happens. But they're not in control of their own destiny anymore. So it's getting that 8th seed, it's getting the Pistons, and it's maybe getting a game or two. And you know what? You can hang your hat on that. And then next season, we'll see what happens. But you have to get some wins here in the playoffs. That's for me would be an okay finish to the season.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Pistons are probably the best matchup. Sam?
Yeah, Zach, what are your thoughts about Eric Spoelstra and Khalil Ware's relationship? Like, we keep hearing about a lot. It reminds me kind of like the Steve Kerr and Kuminga thing, like where he just kind of like won't give him minutes, and then like I know Khalil says like the right things with media and stuff. He just kind of takes the high road and doesn't like criticize anyone, but I can tell by his body language like he doesn't like it. Like he's like kind of like I know the fans and even some of the media are like what's going on there? Like he seems like he's in a way like riding him a little too hard. Like like
Yeah, no,
like
again, there's no doubt the whole coaching staff rides him hard. Assistant coach Malik Willis, Caron Butler. I mean, I to me, I think it's because they see that he could be a really foundational piece for the Heat. However, I think that we were talking about how to me, the Heat are outmatched against a lot of these teams because of size. Khalil Ware is kind of the solution, and he doesn't run it. So I think it's kind of like I'm very involved in seeing how Heat Twitter reacts to this sort of storyline. Unfortunately, because Heat Twitter could be a war zone out there. But I think like when you talk about that relationship, I think it's built on respect. I think it's built on this sort of old school mentality of like, we're going to challenge him hard and we're going to do this. Now, whether that translates to the current NBA, I think people have this sort of discussion about Pat Riley and Spoelstra having this old school mentality. I think it's made, to me, I think it's made Khalil better. I mean, again, it's been